Have you received an eviction notice? This brief video provides information on your first steps if you are facing an eviction. Before filing an eviction case in court, a landlord must first give the tenant a notice of termination. This notice must give the tenant a certain amount of time to fix the problem, such as paying overdue rent or fixing an alleged lease violation. We will discuss how much time is required in a moment. The landlord must wait the number of days noted in the notice of termination before they can start the eviction case against the tenant in court. The tenant must be directly given the notice, or if that is not possible, the notice must be posted somewhere clearly visible to the tenant. The law requires landlords to follow certain rules about how much notice tenants are given. To evict a tenant for non-payment of rent, the landlord must give a 5-day notice. This means the tenant has 5 days to pay the owed rent before the eviction can start. To evict a tenant for other lease violations, such as noise issues or failure to maintain the property, the landlord must give the tenant at least 10 days notice. The tenant has the opportunity to fix the issue in those 10 days before the landlord can start the eviction case. To evict a tenant for activities that threaten the health and safety of people or property, such as fighting or criminal activity, a landlord doesn't need to give any time in their notice. Essentially, the landlord can immediately file the eviction case without giving the tenant an opportunity to resolve the issue. There are other ways to avoid an eviction even after you've received a notice of termination. If it's an eviction for non-payment, you should immediately pay the back rent that is owed before the 5 days are up, if you're able to. Otherwise, apply to rental assistance as soon as possible. If it's an eviction for other lease violations, like failing to meet your responsibilities as a tenant, you have 10 days to fix the issue the landlord has claimed in the notice. For example, if the notice claims that you have failed to maintain the outdoor spaces, try to clean them up to the landlord's satisfaction as soon as you can. You can also try to work out an extension with your landlord before they file the case. You may be able to ask for more time to fix the problem or pay the rent, or try to negotiate a move-out date that works for you. If you have received a notice for non-payment, here are some things you need to do. First, pay the rent owed if possible. If not, apply for rental assistance. If you have already applied and have not been approved, contact the program to let them know that your landlord gave you a notice and you need to know what else they need from you to move your application along. If you're not able to pay the back rent and the landlord files the eviction case, then you'll need to prepare for the next steps. Make your budget so you have a plan in place for how you will pay your rent going forward. Call for legal assistance or review available legal information to know your rights. Most importantly, attend your court hearing. If the court hearing is scheduled, you must attend. For any type of eviction, if the case is filed, your first step will be to attend the first hearing. This is known as the return or answer hearing. At the hearing, the judge may order the tenant and landlord to go to mediation. Mediation is a place for both sides to engage with the assistance of a trained third party to come to agreements to ideally keep tenants in housing. If the judge orders it, the landlord and tenant must both participate in the mediation process. To prepare for mediation, a tenant should review the termination notice and the allegations from the landlord in the eviction case, prepare a budget that shows how you will pay back rent you owe and future month's rent, identify possible violations committed by the landlord, and identify possible settlements that you could agree to, such as a timeline for moving out or a payment plan for paying what's owed. Ultimately, you and your family will need to decide what is best for you. The rental assistance program can provide for families that have faced temporary hardship due to the pandemic and provide back rent to your landlord, especially if you will be able to cover your rent in the future. The program can also alleviate back rent owed for your family if your family needs to move because you will not be able to afford the rent in the future. You may also feel like it is time to leave upon receiving the notice from the landlord. While this may be the easiest solution for you, it is important to know that not participating in the court process can lead to a court judgment for all of the back rent owed, attorney's costs, and additional fees. This judgment can follow you when you seek future rentals and lead to garnishment of your future wages. By participating in the court process and mediation, you may be able to work out a plan to apply for rental assistance in order to not have this debt follow you while you find a new place. If you need legal help, apply for legal services online at www.legalaidhawaii.org or call us Monday through Friday, 9 to 11:30 a.m. or 1 to 3:30 p.m. at 808-536-4302 for Oahu residents, or 1-800-499-4302 for Neighbor Island residents. You can also find additional information on the website.